What's that?
It's perfect. You want to be that guy?
Good morning, DCTV. It is November 2nd, 2022. It is 9 a.m. We are on time, bitches.
Believe it or not.
On hump day. That's a great feat.
Looking at futures right now, the S&P is down just 8.5 points. Dow's down 102 points, which is good for red for a third of a percent. The NASDAQ is basically flat, only down about 14 points. Crude oil also taking a back seat here as well. That's down around 0.2% for WTI crude. Now looking at Bitcoin, that is down slightly too, but it's been hovering in this 20,000 area mark at 20,475 cents per Bitcoin. And Jaime, I'll let you take the reins here real quick on just exactly what's going on with Bitcoin.
Sure.
Now that we're in a new month.
Absolutely. And this is where we're going to see where we are currently. Here we go. And boom. So as we've been discussing lately, you can see I'm moving to the monthly. Of course, it's where we back up and see the overall. Where is Bitcoin? We are hovering in the middle of nowhere land. The timing, and we'll expand on this on the questions I want to discuss with the team, all of you, later on today with the Fed meeting coming up on what this means for Bitcoin and the overall markets, because you will see a move from here after that announcement.
Yep.
So we're here looking for definition. Are we going to rally up to the top of this 50 moving average on the monthly, or will we continue going sideways or come down? So let me zoom in on time frames. We're in the middle of nowhere on the macro view. On the weekly view, we're also in a point of definition. Will we continue our rally up from current prices at 20,400 more or less up to the resistance or the ceiling of 23,825 on a weekly basis? Do we rally up, tap it, and come down, or do we come down, tap the bottom, and go back up? Today's meeting at 2 p.m. Eastern and 2:30, we'll have a discussion on why those two time frames will matter. We should see definition from here into the rest of the year. Now, like a lot of technical traders, you do not long at resistance. I'm now at the 3-day chart where we zoom in on price. Now, this is the more violent chart. Where are we going? We're reaching the 53-day moving average, where you're seeing a deceleration into this 50 moving average. The big question is, which will be defined today by the federal meeting and quite a few other data, we will know if this is going to be tapped and then return, or tapped above. And now we look, if it crosses above, and within next week we tap it again as support, you can almost be guaranteed that we're going to see about 28,000 possible from there. So that's where we're at. I don't know if there's any questions from any of the team members, but that's what I'm looking at. Don, we're looking forward to your input also. I love your zones. It's very easy to understand, despite what you're seeing here. So we're looking forward to that.
So question, what do you think will happen at 2 o'clock Eastern when the rates are released? Let's say it's 0.5% versus a full percent. I don't think anybody believes it'll go a full percent, even though it probably should, or point. What do you think happens if we're closer to the 5% hike versus the 1% hike?
That is a great question. We're going to get into that in just a moment. I want to let everybody know what exactly they have to look forward to in today's show. That we're going to be talking about the Fed and the expectations there. You can see that I put a poll already in our DCTV live stream chat. If you're watching on YouTube, about 67% of you so far who are chiming in say that 75 basis points is still very much on the table, and that's what's going to happen. About 30% of you are at 50 points, and looks like one soul out here is really wanting the markets to crash. So 6% of you are saying that we're looking at a 100 basis point hike. I just put that in there to be fun, and it looks like somebody took the bait on that one. But we have the Fed we're going to be talking about, as well as Doge Lord millionaires.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about that later on, as well as we have our WTF news of the day. But to get back to TAMP, we have this 75 basis point rate hike that is the general consensus. The U.S. Federal Reserve is expected to raise interest rates Wednesday, that is today, by 0.75%. 4 75 basis point rate hikes in a row is now the unprecedented since the Fed explicitly started targeting the federal funds rate and conduct monetary policy in the late 1980s. That level of rate hike would bring the central bank's policy rate, the federal funds rate, to a new range of 3.75 to 4%, its highest level since the end of 2007, from a current range between 3% and 3.25%. Now, to get back to Tamp's question, I think that this is going to be very interesting. When there's low interest rates and the Fed's continuing to print money, that gives Bitcoin the hedging, what is the proper term? The hedging property or the hedging purpose?
The risk on,
because there's so much money being printed. But now that the Fed is tightening and trying to take a lot of that money out of the system, then the value of Bitcoin has perceived to have come down because of that. So if the Fed comes out and raises another 75 basis points, I think that there's a strong likelihood that we'll see another downturn in the overall markets, that stocks as well as Bitcoin. But if we start to see them back off, we saw the Biden administration just last night was endorsing a pivot from the Fed. If they come in and do a 50-point rate increase, I think that both Bitcoin and the markets themselves will go absolutely apeshit, and we'll see a huge move to the upside. JP Morgan was even speculating a 10% move to the upside from the S&P 500 just this week if a 50 basis point rate hike is disclosed today.
Yeah. And we're discussing this before we came live of what do we usually see when the Fed announces either a spike at 2 o'clock, the moment they announce what the interest rate's going to be. And then by 2:30, we see a reversal, because that's when Powell usually speaks. So you see the whiplash within 30 minutes, and that is going to define. So if my expectation is, okay, we hit the 75 basis points, that's what's announced. And then we see Powell come on and say, all right, guys, we are listening to the world. We are listening to the president. We're listening to everyone. We will start decelerating these increases to 50 basis point or something to that effect. So
Shit, you just kick the can down the road, and we all know it. This thing needs to be raised to 6 points is what it needs to happen. But that's not what's going to happen. They're going to slow way down because Elizabeth Warren and everybody else is screaming too much too fast because they can't sleep in the bed that they made. And we're going to go 0.5. That is what is going to happen, but that is not what should happen.
Absolutely. And Tam, and because the elections, which ties into what you've been saying forever, is if there's a gridlock with these elections coming in, it usually the market benefits. Sadly, it benefits the markets because now there's no legislation or certain arguments because it'll never pass. So now we're in limbo again, and usually that's good for the markets and or the crypto in this case.
I mean, for all just the laymen out there who don't mess with charts, they don't really mess with economics. I get it because it's just a disgusting poison that most people don't want to mess with. If we only go 0.5 percentage points, start putting your money somewhere where it will hold its value, period. Because although that sounds great, all you're doing is just further weakening the economy and lessening the purchasing power of the dollar. It's kicking the can down the road. You're choosing your poison. There's a cat.
Recognize the art.
Meow.
Exactly. Going to see Mama Frida. But you gotta figure out somewhere to put your money where it will hold some value. You just have to do it. I mean, and that's what we've been preaching since, we revamped this channel, and even before the channel was revamped by us, it's all Peter ever preached. So just put some of your money somewhere so that it's just not melting. So understand 0.5 might sound good, but it's not. Figure out a place to put your money in the crypto space. Or at the very least, buy some metals. At the very least. I mean, it's better than holding dollars.
Our whole show today is going to have a lot of this type of theme coming up. There's just a ton of conversations right now about different economic structures, things that are deflationary, inflationary,
Mhm.
things that are fixed, fixed supply or a moving supply. And I don't think a lot of people think about that. They just think about, hey, can I buy a PS5 for my kid for Christmas?
I know.
They're not looking down the road at like, where am I holding this money, and what if I get rug pulled? And like that's been the big conversation, right? It's just who's rug pulling who for how many dollars, right?
Mhm. And what really concerns me is there's a chart that's been out there where it shows consumer credit card debt. It's like not only are we not saving or investing as a society into recession or inflation, not proof, but at least against anti-inflationary assets like metals, like Bitcoin, they are getting into debt. Now we're owing more fiat. And you can see that rug pull is a very real possibility. So whatever you have left, all of us, we should be looking at anti-inflationary assets like we've been telling you. And even Lord Farrow made a comment saying, I think Temp's been reading my comments. No, Lord.
No, we
are
just have sound
aligned.
minds.
That's right. We are aligned.
We
Great
can
minds
do
think alike.
basic math and understand logic. That's the difference.
Absolutely. And Gundy mentioned should have bought gold and silver a while back. Actually, Gundy, gold has dropped.
Yeah.
From
I was about to say
where
that.
where a while back was. So gold is
Still
an
better than
opportunity.
fiat, though. He's still better than
Yes.
fiat.
Exactly, because the fact that a lot of central banks have been purchasing gold, and it's finally coming out that they've been buying during this dip. Guys, read the writing in the wall. We have to hedge like everybody else is with anti-inflationary things. There you go, Christina.
So yes, just to wrap this up, I also wanted to give a little bit of insight from the traditional sense as well. While getting in, purchasing more Bitcoin and accumulating that is certainly what we like to encourage. Also looking at, and you had touched on this just slightly, but I wanted to kind of reinforce this too, assets that have pricing power or stocks that have pricing power is going to also be beneficial to you. And we're talking about, I just saw, I reacted to Devon Energy's earnings just last night over at Own the Chaos, and they absolutely annihilated their earnings, and they're making money hand over fist, giving back 80% of their profits to their investors because of the pricing power that they have. So, energy stocks, stocks that involve any types of food. I mean, Coke has done really well lately, even like your Kroger's, that sort of thing. Those types of companies that have the ability to pass on increased costs due to inflation onto consumers, those are going to be your companies that do well. Procter and Gamble, those types of companies. So those along with Bitcoin and some more of the stable cryptocurrencies, I think is probably going to be the best bet, in my opinion, moving forward. If you want to take kind of that barbell approach of having some crypto and some stocks and traditional finance.
Absolutely. And this follows the writing in the wall we've been seeing. The fact that Bill Gates has been buying farmland kind of tells you that food is going to be a problem down the road, or a profitable area to invest in. So
yeah, absolutely. So before we get into the next topic, I just wanted to thank you guys for watching us today. And if you wouldn't mind supporting the show by hitting that like button, we certainly would appreciate it as well. If you want to get more of DC TV, you just can't get enough of our Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. Go check us out on Discord. The link is in the description at our DC TV Discord. It's absolutely free to join. We'd love to continue to engage in some of these conversations and topics with you guys there. Moving on is our WTF news of the day. And usually we hear about Florida men in the news. Today, Tamp, this one's for you because it is a Texas woman.
I don't even know what this is yet. So
I know. I purposely did not share this because I wanted to get your reaction. A
Texas.
Woman,
boom, baby.
Oh, yeah. Wait for this. A Texas woman made a spooky discovery about her rental home in Gainesville after several renters claimed it was haunted. not just haunted by anything either. Linda Hill, owner of Hill House Manor, told Jesse Waters in primetime over at Fox News Monday that she was taking a shower when she heard someone say, "Looking good." "I thought it was my husband," she says. "I mean, he and I were the only ones in the house." However, it was not her husband making the comments. It was a ghost, she had added. "I spoke to him. She's quoting and saying, "I spoke to him and, he told me I was looking good. I said, thank you. And I asked him what he had been doing that day. And we had a conversation and he left." Turns out it is an apparent ghost of a hooker. "The most common types of ghosts that come around are hookers," Hill claimed. "Male renters," she said, "have told her that they have felt somebody stroking their face, stroking their arm, or touching their shoulder. I don't want to go into anything else that they might be stroking, but apparently there are hooker ghosts in this Texas home." And that is your weird news of the day.
What?
You know what else is in that Texas home? A lot of methamphetamine.
Right.
A whole lot.
And Sabrina Swallows as well.
Yeah. 100% paraphernalia.
No, and there's in the Asian world, there's a belief that there are ghosts, and that's why you'll see these little niches in their homes with a temple on it. It's because there is a ghost or a spirit of the home. And the belief is that whatever transpired in the home in the past is what dominates it towards the future, or what's trapped. So if you see hooker ghosts, I think that was a busy house.
Yeah, that's a big
as
deal
well.
in Hispanic culture too, which there's a
Yes.
lot of that in Texas.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're a little
Yes.
early for Dia de los Muertos, but hey, maybe they're just getting it warmed up.
I mean,
it could also be someone living in the drywall. Like there could just be a guy who slips under the house and peeps at her shower. So who knows?
Yeah.
Dang.
apparently this rental spot has been getting more and more popular, and maybe it's just because of the late night handies. I don't know, but we'll see.
Hey, you don't have to pay this one.
Yeah, you don't have to pay that one, right? Yeah.
I think we just gave Zuckerberg an idea for the Oculus right now. Hooker Ghost.
If you don't think he hasn't thought about that already, then
Oh yeah,
you're
100%.
mistaken.
That's one that you don't see very often though, is like ghost dirties.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
full interaction too, like a conversation.
Right.
Holy moly.
Really weird. Anyways, usually that stuff you see in Florida, but that was a Texas woman story for you.
Fair enough.
So moving on, as promised, we're going to be talking about Dogecoin, and Dogecoin has gone absolutely insane. There you go, Brandon with the Doge T-shirt. I love it. But we're discovering now that there are about 1,000 or more now Dogecoin millionaires since the recent surge. I did not pull up if somebody can pull up the actual price of it right now, I certainly would appreciate it, but it has gone up in upwards of 13 cents per Dogecoin. I think it's taken a little bit of a breather as of recent, but Elon Musk has now talked about using Dogecoin. It's no secret that he's been kind of hinting at this for the last 6 months about, ever since he talked about acquiring Twitter, about leveraging Doge for various transactions. And now it's even down to the paying for certain articles that have a paywall and paying with them through Doge. And there's the Doge move there. That's your 3-day chart. So every 3 days is
now it's on the
candle.
daily.
There we go. So here's your daily chart, and you can see just the absolute boner candle that we've been seeing from Doge, going from around 4 cents all the way up to about 20 cents at its height.
Yes.
Now sitting at around 13 still. So giving back a little bit of its gains, but I'm trying to understand the bull case for Dogecoin, and I want you to elaborate on this, Jaime, because I don't want to steal this one. This is your topic. So I want you to kind of go a little bit deeper in this, but I just have the question of, is Dogecoin going to be a viable asset moving forward, or whatever you want to call it? Some people are calling it asset, some are calling it a currency. Just take it away.
So of course, if you look at when Twitter was taken over by of course, Peter was one of the original Doge Lords from our group. But now it seems someone's racing for that crown, which is Elon, of course.
Yeah.
You can see the actual boner candle was triggered from that moment forward. And then when you see there's tweets, you'll see where he's speaking of using Dogecoin as a way to pay for articles to have coverage to the Twitter groups. So he's looking for ways to create revenue at the company. And one of those statements is actually using Doge, like one Doge to make sure your article is posted and or presented. I don't know if this is being shared now.
Yeah, I'm going to share it in a second.
Beautiful.
Go ahead.
So that's where you can see, of course, we were all there, even Saturday Night Live and other places where he's specifically mentioned the future of sending people to Mars or using Doge as a way to fund his missions out there. It's totally inflationary. So it's a highly speculative asset. I mean, you have to do your research, but you also see when Elon makes a move, Doge kind of follows what he's saying in terms of the growth. The outcome has been, of course, that now you have millionaires minted out of these moves. If you look at it, it was just around 5.5 cents, and all of a sudden now it's at 13 cents. Go ahead.
If you're a Dogecoin millionaire, you Jaime Garzaro, you're a Dogecoin millionaire. Are you taking your money and running?
I would, at this point, take profits, because whenever you see a move like this, you take profits. Then you look for the next support zone to buy again. And of course, you do technicals. So Don Franz zones you can actually draw these out and see where people are trapped upside down and where the others are ahead of the curve. So you look for these retracements to buy in. And then with global situations like the federal meeting and those, it will help you define the general direction. Yes, but yes, I would take profits. We even spoke of this when Bed and Bath and Beyond did that boner candle, and we're like, all right, guys, don't jump
green
in
is
now.
green.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Right.
Green is green. Take profits when you can.
Definitely 100%. I mean, I have failed to take profits on assets or tokens that I have held that actually have legitimate use cases. And that was a major mistake on my part. So no one is saying that you cannot.
I don't want to take it, but you are also were made millionaire out of stuff like that.
Right. No doubt. And like, that's what I'm saying is, excuse me, when you have a coin that has an actual use case, but still goes to zero, all that is saying, then who the hell is Doge? Right. Like if you have other coins with legitimate ecosystems, legitimate teams and developers working on it, and it goes to zero, then who the hell are you, Doge? Who are you, XRP? Who are you, XLM? And who are you, Cardano? That's all I'm saying, is that it can absolutely happen to you. And there's no secret that there is not a lot of use case right now in Doge. And I will definitely get more into this because I have a feeling a Tamp rant is coming today.
Let's go. Let's go.
So I say all of that just to plead with anybody that is holding Doge. I'm not saying you cannot make money with it. That is not what I am saying. But what I am saying is that you better take profits. And Mr. DeSoto has a great point. A lot of people bought Doge in speculation that Elon would just say it or tweet it and it will go up. That is fine. Make your money. But in order to make the money, you have to take profits. Don't hold this coin, long term. Take your profits now. If you bought whatever, $1,000 worth, take your $500. Definitely take out what you put in for sure, so that you're only playing or losing house money. But take your profits.
And if I may give just a small amount of like history behind Doge, I think it's the context is so helpful. So like Reddit's community specifically wanted a cryptocurrency for tipping. They didn't want it to be serious. They wanted it to be like, hey, you contributed to the conversation. Thank you for doing that. And so Dogecoin was forked off of Litecoin, which was forked off of Bitcoin. And so Litecoin was specifically forked in order to have different economics than Bitcoin. So it's faster, but also doesn't appreciate as fast, right? And then Dogecoin expounded on that. And they wanted to make it infinitely inflationary. So Doge just keeps rolling. It just keeps coming out in supply. But people who mine Litecoin are on script. That's the algorithm that the ASICs are running. Dogecoin is also running on script. And so people who mine, like back in the early days of ASIC mining, we had people who had Bitcoin and Litecoin, and they're like, well, we can submit our mining work to both Litecoin and Doge. And so they ended up just having these big bags of Doge. And what they found is Doge has extremely cheap transaction rates, and it's very, very fast. And especially like back in 2016, when Bitcoin was getting really, really tested for how many transactions per second could really be handled, we saw people using Doge. And so Doge inside baseball has been used every time there's a big pump in the market to get money moved, like large sums of money, millions of dollars moved off of the exchanges and then converting them over, and also riding a wave up while they're at it. So Doge is, it has traditionally held that place, but we do have other coins that do fit that profile now. And so Doge has kind of evolved. I don't know that we'll keep seeing those same patterns used, but just the same very normie people who aren't super into crypto, they're just kind of into meme culture. They're into Doge. And a lot of these pumps you've seen have not been because the market is pumping. It's been because people are basically making bets on Elon doing something that is newsworthy.
Absolutely.
Correct. Yeah.
Now-
And I'll just add on to that a little bit. I know that Elon has been, ever since he started with the whole Doge thing, one thing he was doing is looking for developers to develop on that chain because there were none. And hopefully, I don't know this, but hopefully Elon figured out how to build more upon Doge, because a lot of the reason Doge is so fast, along with other coins that we'll talk about, they brag about transaction speed because there are no transactions on the network. So if you're really going to implement Doge into Twitter and try to charge people for access to an article, you better have a seriously robust and newly developed code on Doge, because that sort of influx of usage is going to get bottlenecked very quickly. And the fast transaction speeds will no longer apply, because now you actually have users using the coin and it can very quickly tank the entire protocol. Ask Cardano. The same thing happened to them. So I don't know if they have figured this out as far as new developers since Elon started touting it. But if they have not, it's not going to work. It just won't.
Now, what I find fascinating is the fact that Elon became a multimillionaire in the payments industry.
And PayPal.
And PayPal, exactly. That's where he triggered, and every project ever since, he's been able to monetize it. And now they're sticking over Twitter is reframing that whole business model to where it's no longer a losing proposition, but a winning proposition. And it's very interesting to see that he's still pushing Dogecoin into the use case. And of course, with that caveat, can Doge itself, the protocol itself, support that huge influx of transactions that are expected to occur? And is he going to come up with a way to collect all the transactions and then submit it in a single transaction to the blockchain instead of each and every single one trying to pass through?
That's going to happen. I'm willing to bet he's doing two things. One, I think he's looking for clever ways to fund blockchain development through Doge. And two, I think he's looking to give a big middle finger to a lot of the other billionaires who he doesn't exactly like. And, a lot of them take such pride in like, well, yeah, our money is our identity. And he's like, your money's a toy. It's a game. It's funny money. And I'm going to show you just how funny this money really is with Dogecoin. Right. And so I think it's a punk rock middle finger is what it is.
That's fair.
I love the shit show, guys. I mean, this is an amazing thing to watch.
Because Coffee and Friends were good.
Yeah. That'll be the key difference, is that Elon can finance development on a meme coin that actually makes it useful and turns something into an ecosystem. That's going to be a big differentiator between old school Doge and a lot of the other old school coins that are a lot of times spoken about, that we'll talk about here in just a little bit.
And he can fork it too. He can fork Doge into something that's specifically supported on his Twitter platform, and add like layer 2 and 3 to it. So like that's possible, right? Like we did that with Lightning Network on Bitcoin. It's not like it can't be done on Doge.
And he's going to have to. He's going to have to do that.
Or he jumped on Doge for a reason. one unlimited supply, which is going to be needed for a Mars mission if that's still his mission. Like
Sure.
you will need huge values of to be able to input into those missions. So I'm enjoying the show, guys.
If he forks this, then does it give him the ability to make Doge finite? Because this is something that's constantly being diluted, correct?
Yes, but I don't think he's going to. I don't think he'll fork Data Lord.
Because that's my thing. It's like from a traditional sense, any stock or company that continually dilutes their shareholders is always a bad thing. There's no way you can tell me that it's not. I don't care if the stock goes up for a little bit or not. It's going to come right back down as soon as those shares start to get sold.
Sure.
And so I think that looking at Doge, that's the way that I perceive this is like, okay, well, it's just going to endlessly dilute. It's going to continue to print coins just like the Fed continues to print dollars.
Yeah,
so why
that's its
would I
purpose.
hold any value to Doge?
You're not
So
supposed to. You're
Right.
supposed to keep it in
Exactly.
circulation. It was made for tipping. It's not made for store of value. Store of value is what Bitcoin's metrics were set up for, as opposed to Litecoin was even less so. It was meant to be more transactional. And Doge was exasperating those details to be even that much more transactional, where it doesn't help you to just have a big fat wallet of it for years.
Mhm.
It helps you to basically have it and keep it moving and treat it as like a token of appreciation.
now.
Unintended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Now,
appreciate
if Elon gets engineers to participate, because we've even seen, I don't know, as a joke or whatever it is, where they're telling Elon, take over this project,
Yeah.
run with this project. If he were to adjust to where it becomes now a store of value, a deflationary asset, God damn, these existing millionaires could become billionaires.
I don't think that will happen
because-
though. Like it's hard coded. Like you'd have to fork it and completely trash the original Doge, and I don't see that happening. But
Is there a community where votes can occur, Brandon? Or
there's a
Data Lord?
huge community, yeah. And by the way, what we're doing right now is purely speculation.
Of
So
course.
Yeah.
no one take this as like, hey, we have inside baseball here.
Right.
It's meme coins.
But
Yeah.
yeah, truly anything could happen. And we've seen plenty of forks of Doge happen and people just trying to make a quick shitcoin buck. So c'est la vie.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, but if you want to talk about this more, for sure, head over to our Discord. We'll put the link in the chat. Get over there. The water cooler is a good place to bring things up. And then once we bring things up, whether it's questions or topics that we want to go over on the next show, then we can, filter down into some of the more niche threads that are on that. But please go over there and say hello and let us know you're around still.
Yeah, we'll hang out.
Absolutely. Links are in the description. We'd love to have you guys over there. Thanks, Tam, for that. Brandon, you have
Hi.
brought a couple of topics to the table that I'm super interested in.
Yeah.
The one that kind of caught my eye was the Ripple lawsuit here. SEC taking a surprising turn as Coinbase asks the court for permission to support Ripple. I kind of wanted you to touch on this one.
Yeah, thanks. This is actually a big deal. This is not just about Ripple. So even if you don't care about XRP and Ripple, even if you don't care about Coinbase, this is important for, I would even say, macro outside of cryptocurrency. So this specific story presented by Zycrypto, all these links I have in a Katina post as well that I'll throw in the chat here if you want to read up on it. But the stories that Coinbase, who is the biggest U.S. exchange for cryptocurrency, is asking our court for permission to support Ripple. And so Ripple's been caught up in litigation this whole time, and really the reason why they're caught up in litigation so much is they're trying to play ball with the banks. They're trying to play ball with financial institutions, and they're trying to build tools to use blockchain infrastructure to support our existing traditional financial institutions. So they create Ripple as a company that was created by the same person who created the Ripple consensus protocol. And so the Ripple consensus protocol is their blockchain. That's what, XRP is, but there's also Ripple, the company made by the same people. And, the big issue here for a lot of crypto heads is that the same guy who made the Ripple consensus protocol, so XRP, gave 80% of the entire supply of XRP to Ripple, the company. And so Ripple, the company, has 80 billion, which is 80% of the entire fixed supply of XRP. And a lot of banks like that because it is centralized. It's not a decentralized platform. Now, that being said, their argument is that the Ripple consensus protocol is open to everyone. It's not owned by Ripple, the company. It's a public blockchain that anyone can use to wrap tokens and send things to and from. And it is fast. And as far as centralized infrastructure goes, it is secure. Like it's more secure than like a PayPal would be, right? But that being said, there is still probably a backdoor that we don't know about because it is centralized. And that being said, too, there's a huge potential for the 80% that the Ripple company has to be whaled around in order to take lay people for a ride. So a lot of crypto people who are really like us, we're really concerned about decentralization of power. We're concerned about making sure that no one person has the ability to completely wreck the rest of the community and dictate where we're going to go. And so from my perspective, this goes a few directions. One, it's good that Coinbase is interested in regulation because it means that they're trying to be active participants in where this lands. Clearly, they have a huge vested stake in, where the crypto markets go. Now, there's 3 different categories that cryptocurrencies can land in. They're either considered a currency, they're considered a commodity, or they're considered a security, right? So like corn is a commodity, right? There's no one person who's the CEO of corn, but there are people who have businesses that have vested interest in, that grain going up in value and being increased in supply and quality. For currency, we have sovereign currencies. It's usually there is somebody who owns it, and that's why Bitcoin really breaks mold. There's no country that owns Bitcoin. Owns the Bitcoin, right? They can't dictate. They can own a part of it, but they can't own the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And then we have securities, which securities fall under this really funny space where there's this thing called the Howey test from a court issuing that happened in the 30s, where I'll pull this up just so I don't misspeak. The Howey test is really important, though. All cryptocurrencies are going to be compared against this unless there's future guidance given. A security is defined by this test. It either has the existence of an investment contract, it has the formation of a common enterprise, it has a promise of profits by the issuer, and it has use of a third party to promote the offering. And so we just defined there was ICOs. ICOs are exactly that, because what you're saying is, yeah, we don't have a product yet. We're going to build one. So you should buy and invest in what's going to be. But the issue and why this is treated in such a regulatory fashion is rug pulling. Mm-hmm. This is literally rug pull legislature. It's saying like, yeah, if people give you money for a good or service and you do not render goods or services, you are fraudulent. Because people gave you money under that condition on contract and you didn't fulfill your end of the contract. As where Bitcoin, it's not doing that. Bitcoin's not an investment contract. It's not, the formation of a common enterprise. It's not a promise of profits by the issuer. It's not a use of a third party to promote the offering. It truly is a decentralized currency, and that's why it fits a different space than the rest of the whole crypto ecosystem. There's some other things that may fit close, but Bitcoin truly is in a league of its own, and I want our whole community to really see why we're so bullish on Bitcoin. Like, we're not necessarily all completely Bitcoin maximalists and think nothing else in the space matters, but we are super, super bullish collectively on Bitcoin for these specific reasons.
Yeah. And if I'd like to, the securities aspect of it is when it ICO'd XRP, and most of or a few of us were there present. Why was it raised? Was it for to fund a project? And these people came in to buy XRP as investors. And the fact that they actually, Garland actually sold pretty much over $1 billion worth of this token for himself, meaning cashed out, a certain portion. Sell the top type thing. He almost pretty much sold at the top back in 17, 18. And then the fact that all these tokens now were given to the corporate side, to the business side of it. And that's where the question lies is, okay, was this a securities offering? Were all these people that came in invested not for the utility of it, but for a future growth of an asset? Meaning, I want a return on investment on this business that's launching. And the fact that XRP kept announcing, well, Bank of America is adopting this, Swift is adopting, all these announcements coming through. If it walks like a security, talks like a security, smells like a security, it's very likely a security. But that's why it's so significant that Coinbase stepped in at this very moment in time while they're legally fighting. Okay, are they backing that it isn't? Is it going to help define a certain decision out of this? Is what's so interesting about this court case.
Yeah, and it's going to slip. It's going to make or break some cryptocurrencies. It really will. Like there's some cryptocurrencies that are security and are not being seen as a security, and people are bullish on them because they don't understand this regulatory framework. But like if there is some coin that you're holding that falls under a security, and now all of a sudden you owe a ton of money, because you just didn't understand what you were getting into, that's ex post facto. That's the problem. That means that laws were made after the fact that something occurred, and so that's another part of this whole XRP conversation is that it goes against. There's a bit right here that says the company added that one of the fundamental due process protections guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution is that authorities can't condemn conduct as a violation without providing fair notice that the conduct is illegal, reiterating a common industry complaint that Securities Watchdog has not provided clear guidance to crypto-focused businesses. So that's a huge thing for our whole space. Basically, like, hey, you didn't give us guidance, and now you're spanking us for not following the guidance you didn't give us. You haven't been in the game, and so you can't beat us up about that. But if I know anything about history, it's that they're going to try, because they're going to squeeze you for as much as you can to see if you have enough fight in you in order to actually press them to the Constitution.
And I'm gonna back Brandon up hardcore on this, because not only is he right conceptually and from history, but it is happening right now, and you see it trying to happen with all these supposed lawsuits against Do Kwon and the Luna Terra ecosystem. There was no clarity on certain payment coins in the decentralized space, and after Terra Luna fell and the experiment failed, now you see all these lawsuits, and everybody's saying, well, what is Do Kwon getting sued for? That question cannot be answered in a black and white asked and answered fashion, because there is no law right now. They're trying, lawmakers and policymakers are trying to go back retroactively and put law in that would have applied to the current situation. But the fact of the matter is that was not there when all of the stuff went bad. And so you're going to lose that in court every single time. So Brandon's 100% right on that.
It's gray at best. It's not black and white like they're trying to say it is.
Exactly.
And quite frankly, even if you don't live in the US, we believe all people have a God-given right to life, liberty, and property. And this falls under liberty and property. And, you have to ask a lot of questions about, is this guidance protecting your right to liberty to do what you ought to be able to do without harming someone else's life, liberty, or property? And then the other question is, do you have the right to own these things? Certainly you do. And so constitutionally, according to, natural law, you have the right to own all these things. And so there's these people who are really trying to figure out where they can distract you and get you away from paying attention to the fact that you have rights that you can assert over them. And of course, there's the right way to assert your rights. That the right way is through litigation and through process, and not escalating to violence. Like we're in a civil society and we ought to maintain civility, but Coinbase is doing, in my opinion, the right thing here in talking with them and trying to make sure that they're in the center of the conversation to offer guidance. And we hope to be in that kind of position in the future as well.
Always.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, in 100%, like, but Brandon brought up so many good points, and I'm going to try to pick from them to make the timeline make sense. But he mentioned ICOs. And again, cryptocurrency in general is a complete experiment. We have no idea what will happen until we do things and then they fail or don't go as planned, and we try to make modifications for the future. He brought up ICOs. Part of the reason ICOs failed is, like Brandon said, a lot of them were rugged. You come up with this great idea on paper, and then we've all been there. When something in theory makes sense and you go to actually develop it, a lot of times it falls to the wayside because it's too hard or it doesn't work in practice or whatever reason you have for these things to fail. And there should be some sort of security in those sort of things. That's what happened with the ICO craze. Is I can just write a really good paper, put it out there, people will invest in it, and I never have to execute. I can rug pull and have no consequence other than the fact that people are pissed at me because they lost money. Because like Brandon said, there's no regulatory body that has laws against that right now. It is coming out because this is the ICO craze. All this stuff really happened in 2017 when we were around the space at that time as well. So you don't see a lot of ICO stuff, but what you are still seeing, and the reason I have problems with coins like Ripple and its essential sister and XLM and coins like Cardano, is because they are all of the mentality of they are trying to have a one coin to rule them all mentality. Ripple XRP is trying to be the payments. They're going to be payments and nothing else. A one coin to rule them all mentality. The problem with that is it cannot talk to other chains and protocols, which we now know through experimentation and lots of failures in the space, that communication and cross-chain ability to move from protocol to protocol is the future. That is the future. So if you can't talk, if you can't communicate, how are you going to bring in an entire community of finance? You can't. And that's part of the problem with XRP is Ripple and XRP are not the same thing. So if you want to invest in Ripple and you say, hey, I'm going to go get XRP, you did not just get Ripple. What you got was a very, very centralized coin that can only talk in one direction. And it's a one point of failure coin. You're going to have a problem with that because it cannot talk. I mean, from a 40-foot view of things, one of the co-founders of XRP left the system because he said the coin was too decentralized. So he was going to go make his own coin. He left, and now we have
centralized.
No, he said Ripple was too centralized, way too centralized.
You said decentralized.
I apologize. I apologize. Yeah, he said Ripple was way too centralized. He was out, not going to do that. He was going to go make his own decentralized coin, which is now XLM. Okay.
Got it.
And again, now you have two coins competing for the same one coin to rule them all mentality. One mind is of the centralized fashion. The other mind is of the decentralized fashion. So now you have two problems in Ripple or XRP and XLM. You could say the same thing about Cardano, another just financially incentivized project with very little development in the ecosystem. I don't think XRP has a good ecosystem. They don't. They just try to build a protocol with no ecosystem whatsoever. And like I said earlier, they will tout and tout and tout. Well, we have, things like fast transactions, and we have things like, cost per transactions are low and block times and all these things that they tout because they're not looking at the right metrics. So I'm just going to tout this thing. But part of the reason why you have those things that you tout is because no one uses your chain. That's it. There's no development for an entire ecosystem there. And that is an issue in and of itself. And now Ripple is that, they're touting themselves as, well, we're going to be the chain of banks. Okay.
I think they will.
And they might, I think your CBDCs security. Are going to be, yes, exactly. And when you're going to have these bank release tokens, I think they're going to look at Ripple possibly to handle it, or they're just they're gonna fork their own chain of it and have the Bank of America coin or the the Federal Reserve coin, whatever the hell they're gonna have. I think Ripple will play a part in it in some shape, form, or fashion. But if someone says that they're sold on XRP, it's usually because if it's not broke, don't fix it type of perception. And they're usually people who are just solely investing on token valuation alone. But if you're operating in the world of decentralized finance and you would rather hold a centralized coin that does not pay you yield, then XRP is a great place to invest. But just understand you're literally doing the exact opposite of everything that DeFi is trying to solve.
Yeah, it's basically Web 2 with Web 3 skin on it, and they're pretending like they use a lot of the same infrastructure and a lot of the same language, but the way they've set it up is it's fundamentally a wire transfer. It's literally like just a way to send money from bank to bank, and it's centralized, and so you don't get the benefits as a layperson because you're still going bank to bank. You still have a middleman. You still have someone who can mess with stuff. And the other piece I want to bring up too with XRP is it is deflationary, which can be a good thing. I mean, Binance, for example, does token burning, but the concern I have is that for every transaction Ripple gives, 0.00001 XRP is destroyed. It's not given to anyone. It's just destroyed and no longer able to be in circulation. So if someone's holding 80% and it starts getting used a whole bunch in the 20% that's in circulation, maybe 10% of the 80% that they're holding gets put there. They still hypothetically have 70% that isn't depreciating, and everyone who's using it, their amount does depreciate. Now who has this like even more disproportionate power structure? So
exactly.
I want people to get this clear that this is not the same as Bitcoin. This is not the same whatsoever. And to Tamp's point, even if they were to develop interoperability, which frankly, Bitcoin was supposed to be money for the internet. And so therefore, all servers are connected. It only makes sense that in due time, all blockchains ought to be able to be cross-chain and have some, glue middleware layer that can interface between them all. And,
but that's part of the reason, Brandon, you're 100% right. That's part of the reason that we don't promote certain coins is because even if they figure out, we're Ripple, we need to talk with all these other protocols. The way that they were developed from their Genesis coins, they cannot be. At best, you can have a side chain and essentially satellite stations where maybe that satellite can talk to another chain's protocol or the protocol's chain, but they can't talk. They are inherently flawed from the beginning. I mean, so you're going to have an issue there. You need to take a look at some of these coins that have been around a while. Why are they still here? Because they're not going to be able to talk in the future the way some of these newer protocols being built are going to be able to talk in the future.
Yeah. So clearly this topic is very hot. There's a ton to unpack here, and this isn't the end of this conversation. We're going to keep bringing this up because we're in the middle of this whole drama. It's going to keep unfolding. So we'll bring it up, but I really hope that this stream was useful just to give everyone kind of a base of context.
Something to think about.
There's so much context to this.
But it's amazing though, because it is an interesting conversation, and laws are supposed to come out to identify what is this? Is this a duck? Is this a security? What is this? So it's a great time to talk about it.
Yeah, things like Doge and things like Ripple, no one is saying don't make money on them, but Lord knows, take your profits and treat it for what it is. Because if you hold these coins long term, you are playing in very risky waters. And as long as you know that, fine. But if and when it dumps on you, do not look for a head or something else to blame. The blame is 100% on you. Own it. If you're willing to risk it and it fails, own it. If you're willing to risk it and it does great and you take your profits, by all means celebrate that. Just know what you're playing with.
And that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to bring up specifically Doge, but now also we're talking about Ripple and XRP, was just because I think that the AMC GameStop crowd, I feel, is of the same, cut from the same cloth, or maybe even the same people as the Doge folks. So I wanted to make sure that we could address that and at least give our perspective and our opinions on it, because we lived through shit like this before, and don't want
this is,
people to fall into the same trap.
I'm sorry, but just like one more thing on it.
No, we love it.
One more
Yeah,
thing,
like
Jackie.
Brad's right. Like Brad's 100% right. Less than 5% of the population owns cryptocurrency. So there is fresh meat coming in all the time. And they see things like ADA, they see things like Ripple, they see things like XLM and some of these other, especially just a few cent coins. And they're like, damn, I can't get a whole Bitcoin, but I can get a whole lot of XRP. I can get a whole lot of ADA.
Right.
They see these things. And that is why, that's a huge reason why these coins have lasted as long as they have, right? We're talking about shakeouts in our economy right now. Don't bail out banks. Don't bail out big corporate. Let them shake out. If they're bankrupt, they're bankrupt. But the same thing is happening in DeFi, where all this fresh meat is coming in and floating a lot of these protocols that should have been pushed to the wayside long ago. Yep. And I mean, and again, it is what it is, but just understand that XRP, ADA, XLM, those are not the coins of the future. Those are coins that have fresh meat attached, and that fresh meat is going to come in and buy up your bag. And you can cash out and ride off in the sunset. And that's fine. But just understand, you're leaving that with somebody who has no idea what they're doing. That's the reason these coins are doing well right now, or have lasted this long. So again, make your money, but please don't think that this is the future of DeFi.
Yeah. And Peter uses this phrase. He'll say, unsophisticated investors, and that's, I think that's what it is, and that's not to be insulting to anyone, but if you just really don't have the context you're playing within, you just see, let's say you're 21, right, and you're like, yeah, I have some buddies who are artists, they have NFTs that they made a bunch of money on, and this seems dope. I mean, I might as well play if they're playing, right? It's more of a social community thing. And they don't really understand the bigger context that's here. So we're really hoping to just equip people with the information they need to see the context and make an informed decision. Yeah. But there's a big reason why we're bullish on Bitcoin specifically, and also on just long-term traditional investing that does make sense. It's never going to go away, because there really are some safe bets to make. There's infrastructure that is not going away.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And interoperability communication protocols. We are huge on those. The Cosmos. Yeah. Cosmos ecosystem. That is all they're doing.
Man, what a spicy conversation. Love you guys.
This is a great show. It's a great show. Things are heating up here. If you guys want to continue to keep us warm, go check us out over at the DC TV Discord. The link is in the description. Did you like that? I feel like that was dope.
Amazing.
Want to keep us warm. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We certainly appreciate it. Make sure that you hit that subscribe and that like button as well. As always, let's end the show with some birthdays. So David Schwimmer. Do you guys know who David Schwimmer is?
Oh yeah, Friends.
Yeah. Friends, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Ross from Friends is 56 years old.
56. God damn.
That's not all. Nelly is 48. Let that sink in. Kendall Jenner is 26. Okay, whatever. Kendall Jenner's 26. But then we also want to round out Jade Jolie, who is 36 years old today, and she was best known for Plunder the Booty, not another porn movie, In Through the Back Door 3, Daddy, I Am a Porn Star Now, and Rock and Roll in My Butthole. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We certainly appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and we'll see you on Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be having a special guest involved in NFT music. It's the first time we'll be having someone on in the music space and as it relates to NFT. So I'm actually interested to see what she has to say. You guys aren't going to want to miss it. And we'll see you all on Friday. Thanks so much. Until then, keep calm and huddle on.
Huddle on.
Have a good one.
Peace.